Last week, a presentation was done debunking the myth that Jesus was born in December. So now we ask the question, why the 25th? And who is behind it? The origin of December the 25th comes from Chanukah, otherwise known as the Feast of Dedication. It is celebrated on the 25th of Kislev on the lunar calendar, which is generally in the month of December on the solar calendar. Here are some examples of the dates of the Feast of Dedication. Note, in 2024, it starts on the evening of December the 25th. This is no coincidence, as the Roman Catholic Church is renowned for taking feasts from the Bible, twisting them by applying the solar calendar and adding pagan elements. This leaven has infected the vast majority of the Christian Church. A classic example is Passover and Easter. Passover being the genuine article celebrated by Jesus and his disciples, and a counterfeit called Easter, which is the name of a pagan fertility goddess. All through the Bible we are told not to honour God in the ways of the pagans. These things are an abomination to him. So in the case of Christmas and Chanukah, the reason why people don't see the conflict of interest is because the historic books of the Maccabees are not taught in modern churches. This means people don't know the history behind the book of Daniel, and giving traditions a foothold in the church, which few seem to question. In this episode, we'll look at one individual in history from the Chanukah story, who is a type of the antichrist. It is the story of a tyrannical dictator who became a false ruler over Israel, empowered by the spirit of Satan, and his downfall leading to the true Messiah. Traditionally, the Feast of Dedication has been focused on the birth of the Messiah in Christian circles, even though it actually has nothing to do with his birth. However, the Feast of Dedication sets a pattern for the Antichrist, and it gives us vital keys to identify him. It also assures us of God restoring his rule and reign on this earth. This is vital information, because most of the world is following the impostor. So who is this impostor in the Chanukah story? Meet a man named Mithridates. His name is a play on Mithridates, which means gift of Mithras. Mithra is the god of sun worship. The god has its origins in Persia and was later adapted in the Roman Empire as Mithras. Sun worship goes all the way back to Babylon, originating from the first world dictator Nimrod and the story of Baal. So this man is named in honour of the sun god, a hint to the time of his birth, and is tied to the 25th of Kislev, or December. You may know this man better by the title Antiochus Epiphanes IV. So who is this impostor in history? To understand this riddle, we need to turn to the book of Daniel. Chapter 8 is the key to unlock this mystery, combined with the book of Maccabees to add clarity. We find the prophet Daniel reminiscing about a vision he had just before the fall of the Babylonian Empire and the rise of the Medo-Persian Empire. Starting at verse 1 it says, "In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel." Now, King Belshazzar was the last king of the Babylonian Empire until he was assassinated. This resulted in the rise of the Medo-Persian Empire. So at the time of this vision, Daniel was still serving under Babylonian rule and is transported forward in time to the future. In Daniel chapter 8, verse 2, it says that he was in Shushan, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. This vision was referring to the future, as the Medo-Persians were not the prominent empire at the time. To Shushan in the province of Elam, a place we call Iran today. Continuing in Daniel chapter 8, verses 3 to 4, it says, "And there standing beside the river was a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high. But one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand. But he did according to his will and became great." So who is this ram? In Daniel chapter 8, verse 20, the angel Gabriel was sent to Daniel to make him to understand the vision. He says, "The ram which you saw having the two horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia." Horns in the Bible refer to the power of kings or kingdoms. So the two horns represent the dual components of the Medo-Persian Empire. The higher horn reveals one of the partners in this empire was more dominant than the other. Just as empires quickly rise, so is their fall. Daniel continues his discourse in verse 5 to 7. A male goat came from the west. The goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Then he came to the ram that had two horns, and ran at him with furious power. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, and broke his two horns. He cast him down to the ground and trampled him. Who is this male ram? The angel Gabriel gives us the answer in verse 21. The male goat is the kingdom of Greece. The large horn that is between its eyes is the first king. This could only be one man in history, Alexander the Great. He brings the empire of the Medo-Persians to a violent end. However, Alexander the Great's rule doesn't last long, and he dies at a young age of sickness. In Daniel chapter 8, verse 8, it says, "The male goat grew very great, but the large horn was broken, and in place of it 4 notable ones came up." This sets the stage for a man of intrigue to enter the stage of history. As the Greek Empire fragmented and divided amongst the Greek generals, with factions warring against each other, the biblical narrative focuses on 4 of these divisions. There was Ptolemy, the Egyptian kingdom, Cassander, the Macedonian kingdom, Seleucus, the Syrian kingdom, and Lysimachus, the kingdom of Turkey. Sandwiched in the midst of these warring factions was the nation of Israel. Out of the Seleucid Empire from Syria comes an antichrist figure with a surprising connection to the 25th at that time of the year. In Daniel chapter 8, verses 9 to 10, it says, "Out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. And it grew up to the host of heaven, and it cast some of the host and some of the stars to the ground, and trampled them. So this king has a power behind him provided by Satan himself. No earthly king has exalted himself up to the host of heaven, casting them down to the ground with the stars. This king is evil to his core. He is a tool of Satan in opposition to the kingdom of God." In verses 11 and 12 it says, "He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host. By him the daily sacrifices were taken away. The place of his sanctuary was cast down because of transgression. An army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground." The angel Gabriel defines this ruler in Daniel chapter 8, verses 23 to 24. "In the latter time of their kingdom, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people." This is Mithridates. He was the son of Antiochus the Great from the Seleucid Empire. After Antiochus the Great was defeated by the Roman army, Mithridates was exiled to Rome. He grew to admire their culture. His name is a hint to his identity. Antiochus was the 3rd son of Antiochus III the Great. Born in 215 BC, after his father's defeat by the Romans in 189 BC, he served as a hostage for his father in Rome from 189 to 175 BC, where he learned to admire Roman institutions and policies. His brother King Seleucus IV exchanged him out of captivity for Demetrius, the son of Seleucus. And after Seleucus IV was murdered by Herodias, a usurper, Antiochus in turn ousted him. He came to power in 175 BC, king over the Seleucid Empire, called himself Antiochus Epiphanes IV. Many of the Jews called him Epimanes, which means the madman. Under his rule, Israel suffered terribly. These are the crimes he committed. He ordered everyone in his domain to abandon their customs and observe Greek pagan religion. He stole treasures out of the temple at Jerusalem. He offered sacrifices to idols. He abolished the Sabbath, abolished the biblical feasts, commanded the people to build pagan altars, shrines and temples, and sacrifice unclean animals and pigs. He abolished circumcision. He ordered people to disobey the law of Moses, and the punishment for disobedience was death. On the 15th of Kislev, he erected an idol of Zeus on the altar in the temple, often referred in Scripture as the awful horror or the abomination of desolation. Antiochus corrupted the high priesthood by installing priests through the highest bidder by bribery. He built a fortress in Jerusalem to discourage worshippers attending the temple. Then, on the 25th of Kislev, something absolutely vile happened. Now, I apologise if this offends people, but the truth must be told. Antiochus murdered the young infants who were found circumcised, murdered their mothers, and hung the dead infants around their mothers' necks. Stop and think about this. At the time of year, we have been encouraged to celebrate the birth of a son of promise, whom circumcision pointed to through the covenant of Abraham. It really had more to do with child sacrifice. Curious, given Jesus was not born on December the 25th. Yet in early paganism, child sacrifice was a part of the pagan sun worship. It doesn't stop there. All scriptures found were burnt publicly, and people found with copies of the scriptures were murdered. Then to top it all off, Antiochus sacrificed pigs on the altar in the temple in Jerusalem, knowing this action would offend God and desecrate the temple. So ask yourself this question: why is ham the centerpiece of the Christmas meal? Does this tradition really honour Jesus? I think not. It all comes from Chanukah. It actually points to the actions of an antichrist. The Roman Catholic Church did this deliberately, in an act of defiance against God, and we have never questioned this tradition. All of this happened on the 25th of Kislev, which we have exchanged as the 25th of December on our modern solar calendar. Something is seriously wrong. Churches all around the world follow these traditions, and many others linked to sun worship, never questioning their actions, ignorant of its true origins. But there is hope. An uprising happened. A priest named Mattathias and his sons rose up and built an army to fight against Antiochus and restore the temple. One of his sons, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, translated to mean the hammer, became their leader, and after many battles defeated the armies of Antiochus. 2 years to the exact date, the 25th of Kislev, the temple was made ceremonially clean and rededicated. The Feast of Dedication, or Chanukah, was established and is celebrated to this day, on the 25th of Kislev. Although this is speculation, there is a possibility Jesus was conceived at this time, but he certainly wasn't born in December. Jesus celebrated the Feast of Dedication, as recorded in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 22. But when confronted at this time with the question of, is he the Messiah, Jesus avoided it. Why? Because it was not yet his time to be established as king. Jesus knew a false Messiah must first come. History will repeat. A temple will be built in Jerusalem. A false Messiah will come. He will erect an idol in the temple and commit heinous crimes. And the whole world will follow him. You may say, that won't happen to me. But we have already been indoctrinated, taught to look from him from our childhood. Our calendar and traditions have been corrupted. Only those who read the scriptures without the filter of Western traditions can see it. Everyone else will follow along, blind to this error. Yet Jesus said, I am the light of this world. Understanding Chanukah shows us the light, and we won't walk in darkness. Indeed, Yeshua is coming back. He will defeat the corrupt kingdoms of this world, rule in righteousness, and be our light. I look forward to that day, encouraged as we see the world growing darker. God bless, and bye for now.